Alrighty, YouTube, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. So, what everybody wants to see the most: bunny girls versus schoolgirls. I've put together a pros and cons, and pros or cons list for both of them, of course, and we're going to go over it, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on who the better character is. Now, the crazy thing is this video most likely will be coming hours after the character Tia has released, and that's because we already knew how everything was going to go beforehand, even before Tia had dropped. With Tia dropping, we just needed the confirmation to the points that we had before. And obviously within a few hours of testing, you get that. We don't need 10 days of testing to see if the character is good or whatever. Realistically, we got all the knowledge from just multiple different streamers and content creators within the first hour, right? If you're watching multiple content creators and YouTubers, you got all the information you really need between bunny girls and schoolgirls. Well, we already have all the knowledge of schoolgirl or bunny girls, but with Tia dropping, we now have everything we need to know about the schoolgirls. So we're going to talk about their pros and cons, and then their pros or cons if they have. And what the pros and cons list is, well, we're going to talk about that stuff. Make sure you guys subscribe. Trying to get 8K by the end of the month. Let's get into it. So let's start off with the schoolgirls pros, cons, and then pros or cons. So obviously the pros is the good stuff, the cons are the bad stuff, and then the tier that says pro or con is a 50-50, right? It could be good for some people, it could be bad for some people. That's really what that is. So their pros, in my opinion: best damage buffers in the game, attack buffs and damage to core buff, great off-burst healing from Naga, shields for everyone on the team, which is something, you know, unique, especially since there's not many characters in the game who can do that, and at least not efficiently like how Tia does it. Efficient cover HP recovery. Their whole thing really is, you know, the cover or the recovery of the cover HP. You don't need to have both of them together for them to work. There are alternatives, which I think is one thing that is, you know, very, very important, something you got to mention as well, right? If I don't have Naga, that doesn't mean Tia won't work. Tia will work just as fine without Naga. If I don't have Tia or Naga will work just as fine without Tia. The only thing is it's not going to be as efficient as if they were to work, like if they were to work with each other, right? Of course, if you don't have them together, you can still have them work. You're just going to get like a hand-me-down version of it, but at least you still have those options, right? Where when it comes to the bunny girls, we're going to talk about it, but realistically, you need to have the characters together. So that's why I pointed out in brackets there, they are just 10,000 times better together because you want them together, but there are all options if you don't have them together. Can control the taunt from Tia, which is very unique. We actually seen that today on my live stream. If you watched it with Blacksmith, there were times where I didn't want Tia to taunt, so what I ended up doing was I used the character and I just didn't attack. I just did not attack with her at all, right? Because she's a rocket launcher, you can control it, which is good. I just didn't attack. I didn't have the taunt up, so that's a very good thing about Tia as well. You can control the taunt, right? So if the taunt is really an issue for you, you can control it. You can command it to be on and off when you want it on and off, right? Naga having the pierce effect. Oh, the reason why is because every 5 bullets, I believe, Noir actually, Tia, my bad. Let me just see. I forgot exactly. I think it's every 5 bullets, right? Yeah, every 5 normal attacks. So you can do 4 normal attacks and then hold the last bullet until you want the taunt and then use it, which is very, very good in my opinion, right? But there's that. Naga having the pierce effect, you actually makes her deal more damage than most burst 2 DPSs. And I put that as a pro. I know Pride would actually put the fact that, you know, Naga having a pierce as a supporter was a con, but I think it's actually a pro because she is a supporter, she's not supposed to have the pierce. It's just extra. And with all the damage buffs that she's getting from herself, Tia, and the other burst 1, if that other burst 1 is giving damage support, the pierce effect is going to be taking all of that in and then dishing out damage as well. So Naga does do very good numbers, especially in a match. He does higher numbers than a lot of the other burst 2 DPSs in the game, which is crazy. Now their cons. Once the cover is broken on Tia, the team synergy drops big time. And I mean that. The thing is, the shield, the whole thing that keeps this team together is the fact that they're able to recover HP. Really Tia, right? The thing is, if Tia loses her cover, everything drops because a lot of the stuff won't work. Naga doesn't work unless you have a shield on her. And with Tia specifically, you have to use her burst skill for that. in order to use her burst skill efficiently, you have to recover, and the only way you recover is by using the burst. It's like so much going. There's so much that requires you to have the cover. So if you lose the cover, you are going to lose the team synergy, but it doesn't really, matter, I want to say. Now, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's not a big of a problem because the whole point of the team as well is to, rebuild the cover HP, right? And then also increase the, capacity of the cover HP. I didn't put that as a pro, but that definitely is a pro as well, right? On cons, Naga needs to have a shield on her to fully work. Either Tia or Ether can do it for her, and that's another thing. Again, there are other options. It doesn't have to only be Tia. You can use Ether, you can use Arya. Obviously, Tia just makes it better, but as long as a shield is on Naga, then she will fully work. If you don't have a shield on her specifically, she won't fully work, which is a con in my opinion. And then Naga's core damage buff doesn't matter unless you're fighting enemies with the core, as it makes sense, right? A lot of these enemies or regular enemies probably won't have cores, and then it doesn't matter one bit. If the enemy doesn't have a core, the core buff, it's like crit, right? If you don't crit, the crit damage buff doesn't matter. It's like the same thing, just with core damage, right? And then the pro or con, which is up to you guys to decide if it's good or bad, is forced to use a 1-1-2-3-3 comp. Basically a burst 1, one burst 2, and then 2 burst 3 characters, right? Now, I don't see this as a problem. I don't want to say it's a pro. I don't want to say it's a con because I don't see it as a problem. One thing I wish for sure is that I could use Dorothy and Litter's burst skill together at the same time, every burst rotation, but I can't. Right, if I am running a 1-1-2-3-3 comp, right? But with Tia, I get her effects and another burst 1 effects every rotation, right? That's really up to you guys to decide if that's a pro or a con. But for a lot of people, it's going to be a pro. A lot of people, it's going to be a con. A lot of people, it's not going to matter at all, right? The second pro or con, that's up to you guys. Skill 1 for Tia needs to be a minimum of level 7. Now, realistically, I don't think that's a con whatsoever because you're going to want to upgrade your characters. If you're going to complain that you have to upgrade your characters, I can't help you there. Another thing is a lot of characters who do need to have their kit or like their skills at level 7, it's usually their full kit. With Tia, it's just the first skill. So that's really up to you. If that's a pro or con for me, it's not because it's upgrading the character, which I'm going to do regardless. So that's really up to you guys. And then another one is Tia forces you to bring a burst 1 with a 20-second cooldown. A lot of the best burst 1s in the game are on the 20-second cooldown. The only characters you can't use with Tia are characters like Noise, who's on a 40-second cooldown, and other characters like that. But again, it's a pro or con for you because maybe you want to run a character like Noise for the taunt, but then again, Tia has a taunt as well. It's really up to you if that's a pro or con. But for me, again, it's not because I want to use her with Dorothy or Litter, who are on the 20-second cooldown. So these are all the things the schoolgirls got going for them. Now let's talk about the bunny girls. Now the bunny girls pros is Blanc grants a shield, all right? That is a pro because of how shields work in this game, right? It's the same as the, Tia. Blanc basically heals the entire game after the first burst, right? And that's true, right? When you use her full burst or when you get into a full burst, you're healing. After a full burst, you're healing. The amount of time she's healing within the period of not being in a full burst, you're already going back into your full burst rotation. So you're basically healing the entire game with Blanc. It's literally how it is. And that's like the only other character who can do that officially is Rapunzel, all right? But obviously it doesn't count as like multiple stacks when it comes to a character like Nero, right? But that doesn't really matter because it's only one character out of what, like 80, 90? Permanent attack buff from Noir and AoE damage taken debuff when Blanc uses her burst skill. That is a pro because that's damage buffs, right? Of course, having a permanent attack buff, it's not going to be that crazy realistically, but it is very nice that it's permanent. And then obviously the AoE damage taken means that whoever you're attacking will have damage increase, right? Their damage will be increased. Damage taken will be increased, right? So that's a pro there. Protects one ally from dying every burst rotation if Noir is alive. The only reason why I say if Noir is alive, because if Noir is dead, it's in the con and we're going to talk about it. But if Noir dies, Blanc goes back to a 60-second cooldown, which hurts, the whole point of her being able to spam the burst skill. That's the whole thing of Blanc. you want her to spam the burst skill. And the only way she does that is if Noir is alive, which isn't a problem because she protects one ally from dying. Now, it's only going to be an issue if somebody else has the lowest HP, for example, and then she gives indomitability to them, and then they, the enemy one taps Noir. That's rarely going to happen, but if it does happen, then it is what it is, right? And then Noir restores ammo capacity. Technically a pro and a con, and as you guys see, I mentioned it here actually. So cons, Blanc needs to work with Noir. She needs Noir to work. You're not using Blanc if you don't have Noir because she doesn't work if you don't have Noir. It's as simple as that. Again, the whole thing about Blanc is to use her burst skill. Every burst rotation only works if you have Noir. So for the people who do not have Noir, you cannot use your Blanc, as you guys already know. But if you have Naga, if you have Tia, and you don't have the other one, you can still use them because there's other options, right? Realistically, Tia doesn't even need Naga. She's just better with Naga. And then, Naga, you can use an SR that everybody has, which is Ether for free if you need to. Of course, you don't want to, most likely, but there is an option there at the end of the day, right? Noir increasing ammo capacity. Ammo capacity is an issue for characters that need to hit the last bullet to use a skill, like Summer and Ace, Dorothy. A lot of characters in the game have that effect. So obviously, Noir does hurt those characters there, because a lot of people would love to run Summer and Ace, who is one of the best DPSs in the game, with, the bunny girls, but it's an issue, clearly, right? And then if Noir dies, Blanc goes back to having a 60-second cooldown, which again, something I mentioned earlier. It's not what you really want to go. So they have the same amount of pros and cons for me, right? In terms of pro or cons, the bunny girls don't really have any. The schoolgirls do, but that's up to you if you want to decide it's a pro or con. For me, everything in the pro or cons tier is nothing of that is a con. I just know a lot of people do have some complaints about the 1 1 2 3 3 comp. That's why I put it there, right? But realistically, I think after testing, we know for a fact that the schoolgirls, in terms of damage, are the better characters. And in terms of survivability, it's really hard for me to say as well, because you have the healing permanently from the bunny girls, and you do have the shield as well. But the thing is, here's my thing, right? In terms of survivability, it's like in what, right? If that makes sense. Because when it comes to campaign, with all the damage buffs you're getting, survivability is not really an issue for the schoolgirls because everybody else on the team who's meant to do the damage is nuking the enemies, right? So it's not really a problem. Now, when it comes to bosses, again, I don't know if that's really going to be an issue because the whole thing with Tia is that she's meant to tank the bosses with her shield that will nullify the attack, her cover, which will protect her, or obviously her regular HP. So, I mean, she's not going to get one tapped unless she does get one tapped, but then again, she has a shield on her, and then also she does have the cover, right? The cover to protect her, and the cover does get increased off her max HP. So there's that as well. So it really is up to you. For survivability, there's no questions in terms of the damage buffs. Schoolgirls are levels ahead of the bunny girls, but in terms of survivability, it's up to you. I know a lot of people are saying schoolgirls are better in that. I know a lot of people are saying bunny girls are better in that because of the indomitability. But again, goes back to my point. If let's say I have indomitability on another character and then Noir ends up getting one tapped, that becomes problematic, right? With the schoolgirls, I have the taunt and I'm able to control the taunt as well, which is very good. So it's really there. In my opinion, I think the schoolgirls are better than the bunny girls. I know a lot of people's arguments are also solo raid, because solo raid, survivability is important. But then again, I feel like it's not, if that makes sense. And let me get to it right here, right? So from stages 1 to 7 in solo raid, you can use any team realistically and beat it. Now, I don't want to say any team because I guess, let me not say any team because you can't use Crow and beat it, but a lot of teams can beat it. Like, you're not going to struggle in those stages. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not going to struggle in stages 1 to 7. And then when you get to the challenge mode, the whole point is that you're supposed to do enough damage before the boss ends up nuking you, regardless. So does survivability really matter when it comes to the bunny girls or the schoolgirls in solo raid? If regardless you're going to get nuked, if the whole point of the challenge mode is to nuke you, right? And you're supposed to get a big amount of damage up before the boss ends up nuking you, right? Isn't that how solo raid is supposed to go? And then it's like, in that case, the schoolgirls would be better because they're giving you much more damage than the bunny girls, right? Maybe the bunny girls are keeping you around longer, but even still, if they can keep you around slightly longer, it's not enough where they're going to make your team do as much damage as schoolgirls, right? So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. You guys take it. Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. But overall, I think they're both great characters. I feel like I don't know. I want to say more safe. You're more safe with the schoolgirls. And I know it sounds crazy, especially after reading all these pros and cons, but you're definitely more safe because the damage output is also catering to survivability, right? If the enemies are gone, especially from running these characters with like 2B or not 2B, A2 or Modernia or Scarlet, if the enemies are dying quickly because of the massive attack buff, I don't have to worry about enemies killing me instantly or anything like that. Really, when it comes to bosses, then sure, but I don't know. It's really up to you guys to decide. It really is. But for me, I think the schoolgirls are better. I think these pros and cons are very fair, right? I try to not, like, I know, again, Pridewin made a con for Naga saying that she had the Pierce effect as a supporter. It's really supposed to be the other way around. A supporter should not have the Pierce effect, but the fact that she does and she's an attack buffer, it makes, like, she's not meant to be a DPS. She's still meant to be a supporter at the end of the day who, you know, benefits from her own support by having the Pierce effect, essentially. So there's that. But honestly, I think the schoolgirls are over bunny girls, in my opinion. I think they're just the better characters. I think they're just safer to have them, right? Damage buffs will protect you because it will kill the enemies faster. And then again, by controlling the taunt, having to cover recovery efficiently, and having some heals, right? The heals are not as good as the bunny girls, I'm not gonna lie, but the heal is still definitely good, right? It's just not as good as the bunny girls, but the recovery cover HP is very good, right? For both. And then again, it's really up to you guys. But for me, I think the schoolgirls are better than the bunny girls after these pros and cons. And even after testing, I think they're just better, right? You guys let me know what you think. It's your boy Zxous, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.